Hello and welcome to another episode of I Demand a Homestead. My name is Amanda, and today what we're going to be doing is I'm in the middle of my vegetable garden, and I'm going to be kind of trying to inoculate my vegetable beds, or the pathways actually in between my vegetable beds, with mushroom spawn. Okay, specifically this is a winecap mushroom and a King Stropharia mushroom. So the winecap mushroom is a really nice edible mushroom. It tastes a little bit like an oyster mushroom from what I've been told, but it's really hard to find them in the grocery stores because once they kind of open up, they only last for about a day or two before they start to kind of go soft. This one is a really good mushroom to kind of start with because it grows really, really easily outdoors. And it colonizes gardens and garden paths and other spaces really, really well. So this is a nice one, especially if you're just starting off with mushrooms. This can be a nice one to kind of get going with. So I'm doing this for a couple of different reasons. One reason is actually because by colonizing my garden paths and therefore my garden beds with mushrooms and mycelium, this is actually going to improve the biology of the soil. It's going to encourage more earthworms and kind of more of that food web, which allows more nutrients to be available for my plants. Okay, so that's kind of my primary reason for doing it. And then the other reason is that, you know, if I can get some mushroom crop, that's a beautiful thing too. And that just kind of adds to my food independence here. And I'm getting pecked through my little fence by one of my chickens. All right, so what I have done is, you can kind of see behind me, I have just put some fresh straw down on all the pathways in between my garden beds. The other thing that you can use as well is hardwood wood chips. Have to be hardwood, okay, not softwood. They don't grow as well on those. So that you can also do, and you can layer that too if you really want like a really strong kind of growth of the mycelium. The layering of the straw and the wood chips kind of gives them a lot more kind of nutrition. I'm not going to be doing that just because this is kind of what I can afford to do. All right, and then what I've done is I have watered this straw with the sprinkler for an hour just to kind of make sure that everything is well moistened. All right. And that way I'm ready to inoculate this with spawn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little brick and I'm going to break it up into a lot of little small particles so I can get started. And you can kind of see all that, all that nice white mycelium, okay, colonizing that. And then I'm just going to break it up, all right, and put it into my bucket here. So I'm picking the part of my garden that is in partial shade. So what I'm going to do now is I've got my nice wet straw here, and I'm just going to kind of broadcast this spawn on top of it. Put extra in here. No chickens, it's not for you. Now what I'm going to do is I want to kind of make sure that that is going to penetrate down into the straw. So you can kind of just either rake it around, or I'm going to kind of come in here and just kind of move it around with my foot. I'm also pressing it down because I want to make sure that, you know, very much the same way you want a seed to be in contact with the soil, you also want this spawn to be in contact with the straw, which is going to be its food supply. All right, and now what I'm going to try and do is inoculate in just a few other areas to kind of see whether the winecaps will grow here. So I have got my strawberry patch, and I've got straw in between the rows, and I'm going to, again, scatter the spawn. And we're kind of late spring here, so this is about the right time to be doing this. I'm also going to scatter some in my asparagus patch in between the rows because there's straw there too. As I said before, this time I'm going to use a rake just because it's easier in between these rows, just to try and kind of work this into the straw. Okay, now I also have some wild ginger that I've planted along here in a nice shady area. So I'm going to try, which I've mulched with bark mulch, or rather hardwood mulch, as well as leaves. And so I'm going to kind of sprinkle some in around there as well, and then water it. And then lastly, I'm going to try to inoculate my front kind of perennial garden, which has also been mulched with hardwood wood chips. This gets a little bit more sun, but it is shaded by the plants, and so I'm hoping that the wine caps will do okay here. They're more sun tolerant than a lot of other mushrooms, so we'll see how we go. We've got a few days of rain coming now, which is why I'm rushing to get all this done, because this is the perfect time to do it. So as I said before, it's late spring here, so I'm a little bit late getting the spawn into the garden here if I wanted to get a fall harvest of wine caps. But you know, it's better to kind of start late than never. As long as you get started with enough time before your last frost, you'll still get, hopefully, if your mycelium takes hold, you'll still get a flush of wine caps in the spring. So I am hoping still for a flush of wine caps in the fall. We'll see. So I have tried, as I kind of said, I have tried a few different locations. All of them pretty much are partial shade, except for my front perennial garden here. All of them kind of have either straw or wood chips or leaf mold, which is kind of, those are the preferred substrates or food for the wine cap mushroom. So I'm going to kind of see what happens, and I'll report back if we kind of get any mushrooms popping up. All right, everybody. So if you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to press the subscribe button as well as the like button so that you don't miss any of my videos. So if you guys have had any success with getting mushrooms started in your garden, let me know. I'd love to hear about the techniques that you're using. All right, everybody. Have a great day. Goodbye.